We are live. Welcome to my thoughts on Arrow Season 1, Episode 19, Unfinished Business. The episode is rated TV-14, so if this video be, there will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. Another episode I love. Right, so, yes, I really appreciated the way that this, there's certain... Yeah, there's a couple of things that I was really happy to see again. We have the count and the let's see, crap, what was the other? Okay, maybe I'll think of it later. But there's really appreciated seeing Tommy standing up for himself with Oliver, as he earlier had with his father, and the fact that Oliver really couldn't see that Tommy was now better. The thing about, what in the last 6 months. And, both of them have changed. I feel like there was at least one more thing. Maybe that was what there was of the... Okay, so... yeah, that might be what they're... so let's get into the chronological. So the... we go from the club to out on... right there in the middle of the, what's it called? Road? I always get road and street mixed up. That was, holy crap. And eventually, someone, runs her over. And it's too bad because, like, just a few seconds more and, an elderly man would have pulled over and said, "It's very hard to see you standing out here." And I think it's not too vague of a reference. But understandably, Quentin does latch onto that case. Let's see. I think the what was the next thing? I think the... Oh, was it the confrontation? Maybe it was. Sure. Let's do that one. So yeah. I guess the two of them are like putting on... Oliver and Tommy are like acting like they're still the way they were, like months ago and such, because like I forget what it's called, but there's a bus boy, maybe. There's people like cleaning up the bars that are like more or less closing up, I think, because like both of them know that the other person isn't like that anymore. But yeah, that does make sense. And the right, I like the we are in the black and green. How appropriate. And the is that when the... I forget if... I think, anyway, the, Quentin, telling the or what, I guess in between, let's see. So Quentin realizes about, talking to Hill, seems like maybe she was, maybe Tommy is selling drugs out of the the club, and subpoenaed, and there's the 10,000 was paid in a bribe, and this and I did appreciate Quentin pointing out, if I don't do it, some other cop will. And although Laurel still points out, the jackboots and how he can't let go, but is improving with the drink. But let's see. The thing about the no, wait, yeah, isn't it at the club? Right. At first, yeah, holy crap. At first, Quentin just shows up. So much happens in a single episode. At first, Quentin just shows up and says, do you know her? And just make sure there's no one selling drugs in your club. Which, yeah, very nicely, yeah. They drop the hint right there that, so now we know Quentin is thinking, she got it at the club, which we later find out not the case at all. And the let's see. Let's see. If I understand correctly, a friend of hers brought it into the club and then gave it to her, or something along those lines. But it wasn't sold on the premises, which is also, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. That brings us to the... So yeah, we know that that's what Quentin is thinking, and, it maybe plants the idea in Oliver's head. Let's see. So we have the... I think the next thing might have been... So yeah, Oliver trying to find out about Vertigo. I forget if that's the scene, but I definitely gotta mention, Felicity yet again getting some of the best. Of course you guys are down here. You love it down here. I do appreciate her pointing out, like, yeah, very, very nice place here. Because it's not nice spending that much time in a freaking basement. It's not necessarily the if you have options. Obviously, I'm not denigrating anyone who doesn't have a choice, but yeah. Let's see. And the thing about how, let's see. They find the she finds some information on Floyd Lawton, and turns out Dig was just intending to give, he wasn't going out there hunting Lawton on his own. He was, giving the information to, his acquaintance who works with the, agency, I think it is, and right, also the thing with, right, so the person of color is back from buying drugs, which, yeah, it's not a good look, Oliver. And, Felicity saying, I volunteered. I'm sorry, that's an an interesting, I think she'd stand out. But I guess the hood is supposed to cover enough of the, but still, let's see. And the thing about using to making the making that antidote thing, you're making tea. And let's see. I think, does that pretty well bring us to the so Quentin comes to talk to Laurel, more so Tommy, and, says, well, her last message was to you, and the message said, can you hook me up? Which, yeah, like, access to the club, that is what that means, but yeah, cop brain doesn't, yeah. And I guess that's what, yeah, let's see, so he says, I lost my appetite, and at the time we're thinking, he really can't, what's the word, yeah, it's upsetting to be accused, but he kept his, head. He's got ice water in his veins. Holy crap! He went to the club and cleaned up the basement, knowing that it was just a matter of time before he was back with a warrant. Also, very, I do appreciate Quentin saying, if you are part of this, you want to get out ahead. You do not want to be, slowing us down. That's gonna speak very poorly for, and the thing about, so yes, so what do you know about the, and Laurel comes up and says, don't say a word. And Quentin says, I'm just doing my job. And she says, and I'm doing mine. Because it worked. Door swings both ways. My ass. And let's see. I think that pretty well brings us. Yeah. So I think the next thing was the bit with yeah, okay, certainly I'll do it now. Do it now. And if you want a fun game, but don't make it a drinking game because you'll pass out. Don't want to be responsible for that. I want to say it's called the Golden Years or something. Try and actually count how many times the dude says, do it now. Because it's, that's a lot. But yeah, Oliver goes to stop, because there's the thing about, mental patient escaped, which, that, if I have one issue with this episode, I don't love the, okay, so the terminology is new to me, but I believe that is what is referred to as sanism, basically acting like people who are given a mental health, diagnosis are like, lesser in some way or another. And, yeah, they do it with him, they do it with the Count. I mean, they earn back some goodwill by, having this thing of like, well, some, sadly, some mental health professionals weaponize sanism. So, yeah. But yeah, Oliver going there and, knocking out the lights. Incredible shot that he manages to take the gun out of the hand of this, very twitchy individual. And let's see, yeah, he, the guy's, dies, and it seems to be an overdose of, vertigo. They mention, green and purple pills, or if you're watching the music video, hills. And yeah, she looks at the tox report, I think it's called. And yeah, he asphyxiated because of this, so yeah. Doctor didn't think of that. The evil doctor. Yeah. Dr. Evil there didn't think of maybe being more careful with that sort of thing. I mean, he knows about Vigilante. I guess he doesn't know the full extent of his reach. Yeah. I do want to commend the acting on the guy who plays the Count. Still fantastic, and this time a bit of a different performance, since still suffering from the long-term effects of that much vertigo. And let's see. According, I have to admit, it's been too long since I watched that. I mean, obviously, Alfred Hitchcock canceled, very much so, but yeah, I think I'll watch Vertigo again at some point. Anyway, yeah, the line, well, at least one of the things he says, is like a line from Vertigo. Let's see. I think that does. Yeah, and the thing about I'm afraid we can't use the security cameras because the budget cuts, which is also like there is a very real problem in America of defunding institutions that need the money, even before Doge. And now they're spending a lot of money and putting a lot of troops in DC because of one person assaulted that has a connection to Trump and Musk, which, like, wow. Tell me you don't care about regular people without telling me. Just, that's what it takes. That's what it takes for them to I mean, I'm sure there's also, to some extent, it's an excuse. I heard someone say it's about locking up homeless people, and yeah, yeah. Moving on. Let's see. So yes. Yeah, later we find out, the money, that's, yeah, that's why the doctor is making drugs. And very clever, the thing about, well, we need more money. Oh, well, I don't know, my boss likes you. So that must have been the doctor in the back of the car. Yeah, very, very nicely done. And also the little look the orderly gave. I did get a feeling like, could he be part of it? But then, like, we find out, oh, the Count escaped. So I think, yeah, at that point I was thinking, could the orderly have helped him? But then, I don't know. But, yeah. I think that does pretty well bring up. But yeah. I felt they did. Yeah, I love that they treated it as a twist. Because, like, for a while, it does seem like, oh, he, like, oh, crap, right, sorry, I think I might have mixed up. See, I was slightly unsure of, was the escaped no, I guess the escaped mental patient, sorry, the escaped mental patient that there was at least a claim of, that was actually that was, quote-unquote, the Count. And the guy who took hostages at the aquarium, that was one of the people seen buying drugs, where Oliver takes out the brick with an arrow, I think. Yeah. But the yes, so the and that was also very, very nicely done there. And that, good bit of tension and action. And I think that pretty well brings us to the but yeah, the fact that, yeah, we were thinking, like, is the Count really back? Or, but yeah, the fact that, no, he really is still completely messed up because of the overdose. Let's see. I think that pretty well brings us to, so yeah. Quentin shows up. I'm back as promised with a warrant. And yeah, I agree with Tommy about Oliver's look. That made him ultimately quit. But yeah. Oliver stepping in front of the door and saying, "You don't want to do this," and like I was legit thinking, like, what are they gonna do? What is, But yeah, and I feel bad for people who watched. If you watched this on TV back in the day, having to sit through a commercial break before finding out, and yeah, he opens the door, and yeah, the and Tommy's even like, see, right here in a crate. Would you like to open another crate? Just, yeah. Well, if this was during Prohibition, I'd say, yeah, great. And yeah, um, clever, cover with the air conditioning is from the 60s, so, I didn't want them realizing that. Technically, we shouldn't even be open. Yeah. Wishing won't make it so. And I think that does bring us to the... And yeah, Tommy pointing out, you kill people. Think about how little I think of you right now. Now that I know that about you. Poor Felicity. Oliver yelling at her. Just because she used her loud voice with Dig last episode doesn't mean that he has to use his with her. And I did feel, her standing there, I was thinking, I think she's waiting for him to, like, realize he screwed up and apologize, but, and I do think, him pointing out to Dig, you didn't know that I wasn't going to need you at the, at the aquarium. But he does show up at the, Felicity told him, about the mental institute. I think that does pretty well bring us to, just really, really compelling last bit. Because yeah, the moment that, we heard, Vertigo's back, like, we know that the Count is going to be involved in some way or another. Turns out it was only through the test done on him that the doctor used to know the ingredients, but yeah, I was thinking, oh, is this like, one of those, like, how you'll have, like, yeah, Kingpin, kind of running things from inside captivity kind of stories. I thought that was one, and we would find out that he was only pretending to be, although that's also problematic trope. Someone faking their disability, whether mental or otherwise. But yeah, did not at all guess that it would turn out this way. But yeah, he Hood confronts Count early in the episode. Shoves the drugs in his face, and works up the voice and is like, "Where were the other drugs going?" Nope, wait, I know that. Cue card line. But the yeah, going there and he's about to attack, and then he finds the place where the Count is. Before that, he has to walk through. There's like this hanging clear plastic he has to like move through, and I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know, a Jennifer Garner Elektra fight scene's about to break up, I feel. But that was of all the things to carry over, to do again for 2 movies. I hadn't expected that particular one. But yeah, let's see, what was it? The other thing was turns out he is not the one behind it, and then we see the orderly and yeah, Oliver is knocked out, and the hood comes off, and yeah, you know, they positively identify him and then note, well, no one's going to be surprised if he, or rather when, because they think that's going to work. They don't know what show they're on. When Oliver Queen, dies of a drug overdose. And yeah, I don't know. I guess Oliver's mouth must have lost a, what was that? A child's game show? Because it's getting slimed. And yeah, holy crap. I appreciate that they took like several seconds before it was just like hovering over him. It's like, oh, get that away. They pushed that about as far as a TV-14 would. And I'm very glad that I know that they're not actually pouring all that. You know, if you don't know, you can't really see it, but they are like pouring it like to the side of his mouth. But because the camera is, over here, it looks like it's going into his mouth because perspective, it's a perspective trick. But yeah, and he's still got the what's it called, the trigger for the detonation of one of the arrows. So he uses that to get, and then manages to get the antidote arrow, and stabs himself in the chest. Holy crap. Let's see. But yeah, I appreciated him not taking out, Count. Dig asks about Countdown, which I think Jimmy Carr hosted that show. And I appreciate the explanation for why he didn't take him out. And Dig, taking out the other guy because he saw the Hood's real face, And let's see, I think that pretty well brings us to... right, I also liked Felicity's line about remodeling. And I guess that does... Yeah, I really like that, by the end of the episode, Oliver does help with Floyd Lawton. Pointing out, I thought you said he wasn't a, he's not he's not a priority to you, but he is to you. And also this thing of like, he's so, emotionally devastated by knowing Floyd is out there. He can't read to his nephew, like we know how much he loves, the family that, both Christina and her son. The last bit, Tommy. And the worst part is he thinks he's making the right decision. He thinks this is a step in a right direction, He's getting away from the killer of killers. I swear I am doing the Predator movie by that title. Honestly, right now it's looking like sometime next month. But yeah, and the smile on Mr. Merlin's face. And it's this thing of like, there is actual love in there, and he wants to turn Tommy into the next generation, next Dark Archer or Black Arrow, or, let's see. Yeah, the bit with, so, drinking alone, not anymore. And, she, tries a sip, and it's like, just soda. Did he forget the scotch? And, that is very clever, because like that's the thing. Like if you if you're at a bar and you've got the I have, let's see, rum and Coke, is that a thing? Gin and tonic? Do they mix? I don't know anything. I am not a mixologist. I am not a college boy. But I I'm fairly confident that there's Coke, the soda, in yeah, a non-zero number of drinks. Let's go with that. And yeah, I can imagine that you can't tell from just looking whether there's liquor in there with the Coca-Cola. So yeah, really really nicely done. The fact that he went to a bar doesn't mean that there's alcohol in there. He might just want, you know, like, it's possible he was talking to someone not long before, or maybe he just feels better about going there than going home and drinking. It's possible he doesn't have soda in the house, and isn't in the mood for chocolate milk right now. I don't know, but her pointing out, yes, you are still a bulldog with a case, but you are trying to be better. And yeah, lots of people who've had drinking problems completely avoid alcohol. So that was also, I was thinking, oh, I really hope it's because Quentin knows he can handle it and not like a relapse. Very, very nicely done there. The scene felt like it was going in one direction and then it goes in a completely different one. Yeah. I think I feel like right. So the flashbacks. Yeah. So I am so glad that she's getting more of screen time now, because she's so much fun. So first, like, there's Slade and her are like fighting, and you got the thing, you got to teach me that move. Only if you show me what the knife was, as just yeah, and Oliver's sitting there. Get a plane, you two. And the thing about so teach him to fight. Tried. There wasn't much success. I'm right here. Yeah, that's the point. But yeah, and he's got the bow out, and she's like, careful. The if you're not strong enough, it could go badly. And then by the end of the episode, she has trained him to where he can, and at one point he runs out of slapping water, and they have the conversation about their Fireson is going to do something, and then blame it on Yao Fei, same as happened last time for him. And I really appreciate the distinction made. It's not that Chinese people are bad. The Chinese government is responsible for some very bad things, to put it lightly. So yeah, it is not wrong to hate the Chinese government, but don't hate regular Chinese people, especially ones, if you run into one here in the West, there's a chance that they really can't stand what the Chinese government is doing. So yeah, I think it's terrible that during COVID, or I guess I should say the height of COVID, there's talks about it might come back, and now with the CDC not allowed to check. Oh boy. At the height of COVID, there was a dramatic spike in anti-Asian hate crimes in the U.S. because Trump kept, tying, he kept saying China in connection to the COVID, which, he wanted to blame someone else. And I'm not saying it was his fault that it happened, but he made it significantly worse than it had to be. But yeah, the thing about why do you keep having me, the thing about well, Firesen's water can quake in its boots. But the yeah, you know, she has a parable, which in this case isn't so much a parable as much of a bull, I guess. Yeah, very clever. She because for a while we're thinking, oh, she's gonna bring a different philosophy of training him to fight. Clever, because Slade said he had limited success. But no, she's going to teach him to fire a bow and arrow. And that is, yeah, a very clever, you know, alternative. And, yeah, it's, yeah, you know, you know, she gets out the bow and she says, show me wax on. And, yeah, just, right, and also the at one point it cuts from present day like water to him slapping the water. Very nicely done there. I feel like, is that everything? Is there, what would be left? I liked hearing about Felicity's one experience with drugs. Pot brownie. Accidentally. You know, but she has a nut allergy, so it wasn't that pleasant of an experience. I think it's just the right amount of adorkable, because you can get to a point where it just becomes like, okay, we get it, you know, kind of thing. And it is, again, one of those things, like, apparently originally the character was supposed to be a one-off or something, and you know, because of chemistry, they kept bringing her back. You know, maybe I say it too much, but maybe I'll try to retire it after this point. But Dr. Cox on Scrubs, at the beginning, we absolutely loved his ranting. But then after a while, they just kept doing it. And some of them felt like unmotivated. Like, it's just, well, you know, it's, I don't know, it's been a while. Let's toss some red meat to the, you know, seals in the audience to clap for. Like, it's just, they overdid it. And at least so far, they haven't on this show. With Felicity. Yeah, I think that does pretty much cover. But yeah, you know, the Oliver managed to puke out the contents of the lava lamp that he should have been properly warned not to consume the contents of. I know a lawyer that he could call. The numbers on the screen, even if you can't see it. No, see, now if I say what that's in reference to, I'd be giving something away. I'll just say that I have been very fond of the output of... crap, I can't say... Okay, never mind. I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, make sure you watch Amy's Dead in Dream House on Nebula. Yes, so yeah, you know, Oliver manages to puke it out, chases after the doctor. Very cool, the hallway, and it's a situation where, you know, there's nothing, like, the doctor can't, like, you know, he can only run, you know, either towards or away from Oliver. He can't run in a completely different direction to help give himself a chance of avoiding, you know, and Oliver's got the, you know, he's about ready to to attack him. So, you know, he rolls for initiative and tries, tries a speech. Look at you. You can't even lift that bow you're carrying. And Oliver just says, sure I can.